Then we go to the final presentation of today. And he has his own laptop, so that probably means he's going to connect his laptop.
Oh yeah. I have one slight problem, and that's the fact that after this is drinks and bitter balls, so I shouldn't take too long. Hi everyone, my name is Marijn Markus. I'm a managing data scientist at Capgemini. In the next 20-30 minutes or so, I'll be talking about data, AI, and identity. But back in the day, I wasn't a data scientist. Back in the day, I was a social scientist, criminologist. I modeled Ebola. Anyone remember Ebola, the world's biggest pandemic back then? We would totally do better than that after that. Not really. I modeled that for Gyro 555, like 2014-15. That's the point in my life that I found out that the shit I do with data can actually help people. Before that, my dad was wondering, Marijn, what the heck are you going to do with your life? Something with computers, go learn a real trade. So I graduated on crime forecasting in Rotterdam. Anyone? Rotterdam? Hey? Hey! Nice. Like, I live over there, and I've forecasted how many people get stabbed in which part of the city based on how many kids play outside. This actually works. So then I had an intake at Capgemini, so I was using data and statistics, and I told them, I screwed up my entire intake. Then he's like, what did you do for your thesis? 10 minutes later, I was done explaining how to forecast drug crime. In Rotterdam, 80% of all cocaine in Europe passes through our harbor. Rotterdam represent. And he said, wow, that's data science. And I said, yes, because I needed a damn job. This is how I became a data scientist, 7 years ago. Now, ever since, a lot of stuff happened. I now mainly manage projects. I talk about it on stages sometimes, and I paint my face. Do you think this is Bowie or Highlander? Oh, thank you. So here we were testing facial identification matching algorithms. Did you know that face paint can fool most police recognition algorithms? David Bowie, and I mean Highlander really doesn't work, but tigers and pandas do. Why? Ever since COVID, these models overfit on your eyes and your eyebrows because the mouth is covered. So if you obscure the eyebrows with horizontal stripes like a tiger, those models can't identify you. So if you ever want to rob a bank, oh God, here we go. This is not they're on to me. This is not advice, you guys. Do not try this at home. But paint your face like a tiger if you're gonna steal a washing machine or something, okay? Or shave your eyebrows, but I think that's a one-way street. Do those grow back? Yes. Yeah? Okay. Anyway, don't try this at home. But my main point here is that what we nowadays regard as AI and generative AI and algorithms and blah, blah, blah used to be just data, people, and nerds, right? So I'm basically a nerd, but now I have to talk to you in front of a stage and I'm getting nervous and stuff. And also there's bitter balls after this, so I'm in a rush. So as part of my work at Capgemini, I analyze burnouts, do fraud detection. I work a ton with refugees, which also got me heavily involved in the ethical data ethics scene, the data privacy scene, the identity scene, and that's the huge overlap with what you guys work on and what us guys work on. Oh, and we make pretty pictures. Who tried the demo over there? Y'all need to try the demo over there. More on that later. This is me a few years ago doing some weird mocap shit with Tom Nook from Animal Crossing, I believe. This is what launched on the internet last week. This is a single picture of a person, an AI-generated person, not even a real one. And we can generate a complete dance. Note the appearing and disappearing arm straps, and so a dear colleague of mine said he can recognize the deepfake based on the jiggle. I'm not sure what he meant by that. Oh God, this is going on YouTube. The basic point here is we can take one picture of you and we can make you dance, and this is not even a real picture. Now, who here has TikTok? Good. You got no idea how many fake accounts there are on pretty much every social media platform you use, including LinkedIn, more on that later, based on this type of technology. I have 10 seconds of your audio, I can make you, I can call your mom and ask for money. This is interesting shit, this is also scary stuff. And this is all over news, all over media. Who here didn't see Frans Timmermans flying and eating caviar 2 weeks ago during elections? Of course, the picture was fake, but to quote one journalist said, yeah, it's fake, but it could have been true. And that is everything wrong with modern journalism. It's AI generated. It's not real. But I want to believe it because it conforms to my ideology and my view of reality. And that is more scary than any of those algorithms we have. This brings us to Brandolini's law, also known as the bullshit asymmetry principle. This is the most important thing to remember. It takes way more energy to refute bullshit than to generate it. This is the basis of why our society is filled with misinformation and fake news, or as we used to call it, propaganda. Because it takes more effort to refute it than to spew it. I'm saying bullshit and this is going on YouTube. Okay, so who here uses Breeze, dating app? Okay, who here uses a dating app? Don't lie. Okay, so who here knows how a dating app works? Oh God, so innocent. So in a dating app, you swipe left and right on people. Yeah, I want to chat with those. No, I don't want to chat with those. Breeze, a Dutch dating app built by Delft, found out that their algorithm was discriminating. Because users, white users, would basically only swipe yes, right, on other white users, even in neighborhoods where the majority is not white. That's a form of bias. That's a form of racism. But the next white user that would join their app would also get those recommendations, because it's a learning algorithm, right? So they found a lot of racist bias in their algorithm, and they went to court asking, the heck are we supposed to do? Because GDPR says you can't have biased algorithms. That's wrong, that's bad. Can't do discrimination. But if we try to adjust this by slipping some Arabs or some Asians into the feed of every white user, we are also being racist. We are also introducing bias into the model. But if you let the situation be, we also have a biased model. We are damned if you do and damned if you don't. Judge, what do you want us to do? And we don't have the outcome of this yet because College voor de Rechten van de Mens is still working on this case. But this is actually a crucial one because, with all due respect, all the Hinges and all the Tinders of the world also have these forms of bias, but they're not speaking about it. They're not going public with it, and that is even worse. So congratulations to Breeze for actually stepping out. In the same way, I was happy that Belastingdienst, the toeslagenaffaire came out. Because most governments have stuff that goes wrong, but that doesn't even make the news. Sometimes things have to go wrong before they can go right. And the earlier we are open about this stuff, the earlier we can address it, go to court about it, sue a motherfluffer about it, have jurisprudence. Because GDPR entered law in 2018, 17, what was it? We still don't know what half of it means because we just don't have enough court cases to interpret that law. Which brings us real issues to me as a data scientist on what the heck am I supposed to do? The privacy officer just says no to everything I do. I am famous in the Justice and Safety Department of the Dutch government because I always come asking, I want the gender of everyone in my data set, I want the ethnicity of everyone in my data set, and I also want to know if they're gay or not. And the data privacy officer looks at me with that look that can kill, you know? You know that look. And I'm like, if you don't give me that data, I can't check if my algorithm is racist or sexist or discriminates against any of those groups. We are now introducing systematic bias and discrimination in most systems and most algorithms that we as data scientists build when we don't have access to all the data because of privacy, because of individual rights. And it's better to sweat now than to sweat later. Because believe me, we're all going to sweat later, not just the Belastingdienst. Because our job as data scientists is not to build the racist algorithm, heck no, but to fix and find the right algorithm for the job. And that's always a comparison between accuracy and explainability. That's the fun part of my job, really. Because there are no unbiased algorithms. I'm sorry, GDPR. I am sorry, European AI Law Act, blah. There are no unbiased algorithms. I'm happy if my algorithm is racist as heck, because that means I can measure it and I can control for it. What's worse is an unbiased algorithm, because that I just don't believe, because reality ain't so. But we need data and algorithms to address the biasness of humans as much as we need humans to address the bias of algorithms. Now, which of the two are more in a decision-making position today? Exactly. But, when the algorithm gives us a truth that we do not like, we just tell the algorithm that it's evil. When the human messes up, they go like, it was complicated, the dog ate the homework and was this other department. It's easier to blame the machine. I call bullshit on that. Which brings us to law, and I'm not an expert on law, but I like this quote, and I forgot who it's from, but he pointed out that the law focuses on legislation and trying to explain and solidify the past, whereas technology is focused on the future. This is why there's a paradox between the two. But if you study law and something technological, then you'll have a job forever, I'm pretty sure. This is Jana Rudenko. I fundraised with her for friends in Ukraine. She's been banned from LinkedIn 6 times. She was in Bucha, if that says anything to you. She was in the basement as Russian soldiers were shooting people in the goddamn streets. She was on CNN, that's where I first saw her. She got out of that hell, thank God. Now she's in the Netherlands. Now she's on Dutch news, still fundraising and asking, lobbying for the plight of her people. This is her last summer at the tank, saying pacifism is privilege. Bot networks keep attacking her and systematically reporting her on LinkedIn. Because as it turns out, if you can report people's accounts or people's posts to say this is racist or this is not a real person. And LinkedIn doesn't do anything with this. Who is on LinkedIn? Here? Okay, good luck. If 20 or 30 people report you simultaneously for anything, your account goes down. It's not just the Russians who have this power. There's plenty of other bot networks in place as well. If you just pay them, they can take you down, and there's no way for you to appeal to it. This is something scary. They have if their bot networks have power and influence over LinkedIn. It's even worse with Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. TikTok is a national security threat. You should call the Chinese spyware app. But I digress. My main point here is, though, if those bot networks can do it to her, they can do it to us too. Your online identity, your digital public identity can be taken away by nefarious forces, and we have no legislation on it. We have no law, no accountability. LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft. Microsoft is doing la on this. This is scary stuff. They come for her now. They could come for you next. This is Tinder. I already explained Tinder to you just now, right? So I have friends in Ukraine, and then the full-scale invasion began, and I was like, what the heck am I going to do except fundraise? So I disguised my identity, because we heard there's Russian soldiers on Tinder now. And turned out you can track soldiers using Tinder. Did you know that? You just have to pretend to be a hot blonde. So I pretended to be Nina, my old Dungeons & Dragons character. Some random Instagram pictures, a fake profile, and a VPN spoof, so you pretend to be on the Russo-Ukrainian border. And you start matching with some dudes with guns and Russian military uniforms. And they say, no, I'm here on holiday. And you auto-translate, try to talk to them. And they send you a picture. I'm going to use a metaphor here now. This is the dick. It is the world's smallest antelope, lives in South Africa. And like 13-year-olds, the dick marks its territory using its tears. It's cute, isn't he? Isn't he? Yeah, so cute, so cute. So let's assume I was sent dick pics, if y'all catch my drift. So, you're using, Tinder tells you you're 10, 20 kilometers away. So, and somebody else also matches with the guy, because there was 100 people of us doing this simultaneously. So he can sort of geolocate. If he's 20 kilometers away and you're 30 kilometers away, then you know where the dick pic is from. Great, good for my conscience. And you get one from here, you get one from here. If you do this for a few nights, you can know where the concentration of dick pics is. You can track movement of reinforcements across the border, because they handed in their phone as soon as they crossed the border, but everyone in reserve. We use that to mark down, oh yeah, they're all still at the Belarusian border until a few days before they pulled back from Kiev. So, yeah, you can use dick pics to track this stuff. Identity, fake identity, yes. After 2 months, they kind of found out about it, which might be, also good for my mental health at that point. And then Elle magazine actually interviewed me about it. You can Google that. Because they asked, Marijn, can you help me get in touch with those brave women who helped track Russian soldiers? And I'm like, I am a brave woman, and nobody can ever take this away from me, okay? Okay, so Pinder can actually help you do this, achieve this. Oh God, I have to talk about AI, and I'm only halfway through. And everyone talks about ChatGPT nowadays, but let's be honest, it's about generative AI in general, right? It's like you only talk about iPhones, you need to talk about smartphones. And it's so much more than just answering a question. It's about generating images, like the demo over there. It's about generating text. It's about generating information. It's gambling, really. How many times a day do you use Google? The toughest question of the day. Big calculation time. 20 times? 15, okay. Or DuckDuckGo, that's fine too. Yeah, cool. So, in the 90s, Google, the search engines were cutting-edge AI. Does anyone remember that? Nowadays, do people still call it search engines? No, they call it Googling. The cutting-edge AI of the 90s has become such an integral part of our everyday life today that we don't even call it AI anymore. We call it Googling. This is why Google is the most successful piece of AI technology in human history. Netflixing is only a distant second, because it also earned its own name. Which brings us to the only real definition of AI that I like to use, which is Larry Tesler's. AI is whatever machines haven't done yet. They fix it, they do it, and a few years later, we take it for granted. This, to me, is what will happen with generative AI as well. A good professor friend of mine once said, the problem isn't that some machines write papers as good as my students. The problem is that some of my students write papers as badly as machines. And I still have to give them a passing grade for it, because they wrote 5,000 words. Because that's how we grade this stuff nowadays, right? Who here got a paper rejected back in the day for bad spelling? Or for bad handwriting? Come on, you old fucks, come on, don't lie. So, in the 90s, we had teachers protesting because calculators were being introduced in class. You couldn't have that, because those damn kids couldn't do math by brain power alone anymore. How is the introduction of ChatGPT and generative AI models any different from the arrival of the calculator? You don't have to do stuff by head anymore. Or the typewriter. Nobody's gonna complain about my handwriting anymore. Or Word and the spelling checker. Because, oh yeah, kids these days are terrible at handwriting and spelling and everything. But we got so much more productive in other ways, right? Right? I hope so. Please tell me it's true. People with kids might disagree. That's okay. The point is, this increases our productivity. And the challenge will be that the next generation will be more used to these tools than you and I am. My new hires, every month I ask, did you write your motivational letter using ChatGPT? Half of them says yes, the other half is a filthy liar. You know. But we can also generate images. Can anyone tell me what's wrong with these images? I used the prompt, since we're doing the bullshit bingo thing, a brave warrior woman of country X. Okay, I see you laughing. What are you laughing at? US, yeah. So I posted this online. We went pretty well until 12 o'clock when the Americans woke up. Then it went viral because they all got mad. The joke here, of course, is that every picture here is a racist stereotype. Every single one. Somalia has metal armor. They never had that in history. That's Black Panther Hollywood stuff. Egypt never had loose hair nor a helmet like that. Japan has an eyelid correction, so plastic surgery to look Westernish. All of these are racial stereotypes, but the only one we laugh at is the negative one, like we're okay with the rest. Every model is a simplification and a generalization of reality. But using these models, we can visualize that bias. That is new. Of course, there's also terrifying applications of this. Who here has been called by a Nigerian prince before? That sounded like your mom. You can totally do that nowadays. This is last year. A friend of mine in a basement asking me if a speech of Zelensky was real. It was a deepfake. That guy has a neck like this. The neck was like that. He was saying that they're going to surrender. But a deepfake doesn't need to be convincing. If you're in a bomb shelter with bad internet and a bad connection and low resolution, whatever, and then at the end he called it a special military operation and we all knew it was fake. But this stuff, this is a year ago. We talk about deepfakes in the future. This stuff is used in war already for a long time. The future is now, people. Slovakia. Who here saw the elections in Slovakia last month? Pro-Putin guy won. Why? Because the liberal candidate, one day before elections, had deepfakes published, not real, about how he's gonna buy the elections by paying the Roma to vote for him, and how he's gonna double the price of beer. So nobody freaking votes for the guy who's gonna double the price of beer. It was fake. It was audio. He never ever said that. But Facebook has this policy, we only remove video deepfakes, not audio deepfakes. So it went absolutely viral, and now a pro-Putin guy is in charge. This is how easy you do it. This is already happening, and nobody is talking about it. Of course, Gaza is a tragedy. Don't get me wrong here. But there's so much fake shit being produced. This is an AI-generated image. This leg is coming from nowhere. These hands don't make any sense. The background is all a blur. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's not the Gazans who have a Midjourney account and produce this stuff. No, again, bot networks. There are third parties at play who just create fake shit to stir up controversy. And it hurts the actual Gazans. These are also all fake pictures. Like, they found their cats again. No, those cats are not real. There's like 3 arms. That kid has 2 fingers. This family journey, these hands don't make any sense. But because there's so much fake news being produced about the conflict, like, I've seen so much Syrian war crimes, Afghanistan, Iraq, and now they're republishing that again and saying it's all from Gaza. This is the boy who cried wolf effect. Because of fake news, people will no longer believe the real stuff that's happening here. And this happened this week. Went absolutely viral on social media. Picture of a guy with a dead baby. And all of social media called it fake. It was a puppet. It was a doll. The joke is, it wasn't fake. It was an actual dead baby, but nobody believes it anymore. And that is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Most people can't tell the difference between a doll and a baby who goes through rigor mortis. I hope you keep it that way, that you can't tell the difference. But this brings us to the question of fake news, modern fake news. Or as we used to call it, propaganda. But really no, because back in the day, World War II, everyone had a propaganda team. Propaganda, Latin, just means what they say about you. But nowadays, if we like it, we call it marketing. And if we don't like it, we call it propaganda. What is up with that? To me, propaganda is stuff that tells people that the other side is not human or less than human. And it breaks my heart to say this, but in the Gaza conflict, both sides are doing that. Saying the other side is not human or less, and that justifies the crime. That's not how it works. Having said that, the technology for generating pictures itself is kind of cool. We created it. It went wild only 2 years ago. And nowadays, I mainly use it to turn myself into a princess. You can check out that demo. I turn into princess half the time. Why? Because this model overfits on long hair. It sees long hair, you're probably a chick. Short hair, you're probably a dude. And I look damn pretty, don't I? Yeah. So the fun thing here is, and you can check out that demo over there, if you go fantasy, everyone turns white or Asian. If you try cyberpunk, everyone turns Latino. If you go for the Van Gogh style, everyone gets a huge beard. Does that mean the algorithm is biased or that the data set underneath is biased? We can now visualize these forms of bias in ways we couldn't before. But we, as prompt engineers, have to know what inputs actually cause what outputs, what settings, what text we should use to ensure that this dabbing guy still looks like a dabbing guy, not like a completely different superhero. We also need to know why in this original image, this is Stable Diffusion, random people keep turning into blonde women. I mean, it's really handy. You can use this to standardize and professionalize all your pictures for, I don't know, LinkedIn or some stuff. But if random people in group pictures keep turning into blonde women, Stable Diffusion has a preference, you gotta know this shit. You gotta know how the system itself works. You need to know what inputs cause what outputs. Nowadays, we call that prompt engineering. Before that, it was data science. Before that, it was just the scientific method, right? Trying to find causal mechanisms. That ain't new. So, generative AI, ownership rights, it's a new way to measure bias in a way that we couldn't before. When I was reporting to Abu Talib 7 years ago, I only had numbers and tables to talk about bias and discrimination. Now I can show pictures. And unfortunately, we really need that to convince people. And prompt engineering is cool and new, but it's actually not new because it's just a scientific method, really. And do you know Lil Kim? Yeah, 100 billion, 10 million, blah, 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 Instagram account, all fake identity. And Lil Michaela. Everyone's screaming about how they're using generative AI to create this fake person and make a lot of money. The joke is, it's not AI. It's CGI. It's a computer-generated image, like in a computer game. And it's very high quality. There's no AI involved. Beware of generative AI washing. This is also a thing nowadays, a very big thing. Generative AI is a dice roll. Whether it's a picture or audio or an answer to your question, it is gambling what data you want to see, what output you want to hear. It has no notion of truth, nor can the model, because it doesn't work that way. It is gambling. But hot damn, it's better at gambling than most of us. And that is the real trick. Us and Gen AI combined can do a whole lot more than without. And no amount of technology can compensate for people willing to believe a lie. I've said this before, this to me is the true crisis when it comes to fake news and misinformation. Because we can make it look hyper-realistic, but we don't need hyper-realistic stuff. We just want people dumb or convinced or disillusioned enough to believe it. And I'm not sure if Sun Tzu actually said this. Pretty sure he didn't. But then again, Sun Tzu was fake news. There was 4 different writers. He never existed either. So it's okay. I just don't like quoting myself. So this is Sergey. There's a guy I knew online in Discord. He was anonymous. So was I. But we were legion. Sergey lived in Mariupol. I don't even know if Sergey is his real name. I just talked shit with him about anime and video games and data. Sergey never came online anymore after the full-scale invasion began. Mariupol is now a crater in the ground. I never knew Sergey's true identity. But if not for the internet, if not for global connectivity, if not for knowing him because of anime, I wouldn't care about the war raging in Europe today. And as much as I like to complain about social media and misinformation, the fact that we are connected at a global level with anyone, which enables us to know people, to talk to people, exchange knowledge, exchange experiences, and care about other people, that is a good thing. Internet is a global driver for change and emancipation. and I'll take all the misinformation that it also generates for granted, because the internet itself is a blessing. And I started in this field 15 years ago during WikiLeaks, using data to show war crimes were happening. And let's be honest, not all that much happened. The war crimes are just in HD nowadays, but I can still use data to help people. And that to me is the coolest thing ever. Thank you, like and subscribe. "30 minutes and 18 seconds. Is there any time for questions, or do I need to shut up?
Are there any questions for everyone who has been just trying to absorb?
Please don't tell me this was a coherent story. There's a question.
Yeah? Are you still able to sleep?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
It was a great presentation. Thank you, first of all. I have a question about the Breeze use case and the use cases like Breeze, because you mentioned that they have these algorithms with bias, and if they want to enforce the algorithm to present people of different ethnicities, then that will be discrimination too. So they are not sure how to cope with this problem, basically. Do you think that using synthetic data instead of real data to measure biases and to fix them would be a good solution to this? And I mean with that, generating data that looks like, for example, the data points I just mentioned, people's age, ethnicity, and their sexual orientation, but then generated by a GAN, by a generative adversarial network.
Yes, generating data or generating synthetic data is just like duplicating a part of your data set to change the weights and change the distribution. But the core legal question is manually changing the distribution through synthetic or other methods. Is that what the law wants? Because the law only stipulates you can't have a biased algorithm, but it does not stipulate, it does not define bias, nor does it say how to fight bias. So yes, this could be a method, but it would also then introduce a different type of bias, because there's a whole lot of fake data in your model suddenly. The bottom line is we do not know, but I applaud people who step out to say, I do not know. People saying I do not know, or people admitting they were wrong, that is one of the most underrated things in our society right now.
Okay, thank you.
So this morning we also had a talk about physical online merging, and this is also a bit about that. And I had a question on the social contract and how it's evolving. Do you have a view on that, given your data science and AI background?
Yes and no. I am slightly scared and skeptical of government-regulated identification systems. Partially due to my whole WikiLeaks background and stuff, because back then, it can have adverse effects, let me put it that way. And we in, for now, democratic and free Europe, have an easy way of talking about that, but let's be honest, we are 10% of the world population. Most people don't have it nearly as good as we do, and we don't appreciate it enough on a daily basis. So I'm skeptical from that perspective. I do think digital passports and such could help a whole lot. If I may give Ukraine as an example, that it allows them to merge a whole lot of different government services, digitize all of them, and give people access to that even when they're in damn bomb shelters. So yes, even though there's nobody physically there, they can still contact the government. So there's definitely pros and cons. It just depends on the way you enact it. But to talk about that, I would need another hour, and I heard there's beer.
We'll do the beer.
Deal. Any final questions? Otherwise, I'm going to shut up.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. Where do you think the solution lies? Should it come from South American countries, African countries, Asian countries? Which part of the world? Because you say Europe is just 10%. How do you see a global collaboration when you talk about your topic?
Ooh, that's a big question. when I was talking about the 10%, I was mainly talking about, well, check the Freedom House publications on this. I was talking about press freedom, safety for ethnic minorities, for LGBT. If you don't have all of that in place, government being able to track all your identity is actually a risk. That's mainly what I was referring to with the 10% question. I want the whole world to join in on these movements, don't get me wrong. But I'm just going to use China as an example over here. It's an easy one. No, hell, I'm going to use Russia as an example, because since literally last week, being gay in Russia gives you a 5-year prison sentence. LGBT has been branded an extremist movement. Yeah, so anyone who's recorded in the government systems as being a dude who likes dudes, they are now at risk, unless they're part of the political elite, because then it's A-okay. But the Dutch in World War II, we have huge controversies. Us Dutch, we exported more Jews per capita than Germany itself, because we registered so very carefully who is from which ethnic distribution. So yes, there are tons of dangers here, and I see those. But we want to address the risks and the benefits and talk about those, rather than deny them. So, like, I'm mainly saying that we need to communicate more, just like all my exes told me. Okay, now I'm going to shut up. Thank you all.